U.S. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard just announced her resignation, though the resignation does not go into effect until June 30th. What does that mean? It means that Laura Loomer is probably doing copious amounts of narcotics right now, allegedly, maybe, and she is celebrating. That's what it means, okay? So the news just broke moments ago. We have it right here for all of you. U.S. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard resigns. She published this statement. It reads, "I'm deeply grateful for the trust President Trump placed in me," blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's read the actual statement here. Deeply grateful for the trust. Office Director of National Intelligence for the last year and a half. Unfortunately, I must submit my resignation early, effective June 30th, 2026. My husband, Abraham, has recently been diagnosed with an extremely rare form of bone cancer. So, of course, needless to say, I really do hope from the bottom of my heart that her husband makes a speedy recovery. Bone cancer is serious. We don't know how bad it is, but she did say it's extremely rare. We don't know what stage it is. But this is, what she is saying she's resigning for. Do I honestly believe that is why she's actually resigning? I do think it's probably part of it. Do I think that's the whole reason? No, I don't. That being said, I have met her husband, Abraham. Many of you probably know I've met Tulsi several times. I've met her husband, Abraham. Great guy, nice guy. Very, very, he's a man of few words the times that I interacted with him, but he seemed very polite, very nice. Okay, I hope he makes a speedy recovery. He faces major challenges in the coming weeks and months. At this time, I must step away from public service to be by his side. Understandable. So she goes on to talk about Abraham here. While we have made significant progress at the ODNI, advancing unprecedented transparency and restoring integrity to the intelligence community, extremely questionable to say that, I recognize there is still important work to be done. I'm fully committed to ensuring a smooth and thorough transition over the coming weeks so that you and your team experience no disruption in leadership or momentum. How much you want to bet that whoever comes in next is going to be a total entire Zionist shill Israel apologist? Now, if you don't remember, it was just, a week ago when Jesse Waters and John Kiriakou were live on air and the following news broke. This was really crazy for a number of reasons. Tulsi was working on declassifying documents related to the JFK assassination, MLK, MK Ultra, I think even maybe RFK. I'm not 100% sure about that one, his assassination, COVID origins, and what else? They were doing investigations on a lot of stuff. They were doing investigations on Havana syndrome, they call it, that made up thing that they came up with in the Biden administration. They're doing investigations on other things. The CIA was spying on them, but not just that. Also, we had this.
Tulsi Gabbard's office. Agents hauled out dozens of boxes, files on the JFK assassination and MK Ultra, the CIA mind control operation, which she was in the process of declassifying. Today's whistleblower said it during his deposition, and Congresswoman Napolitano Luna confirmed it moments ago.
The reason why this is troubling is, A, there was an executive order that the president had directed the full declassification of JFK, but then also to the MK Ultra files. The CIA famously has said that, all documents were released and other documents had been destroyed. So these are allegedly those documents that apparently never existed.
Can the CIA overrule the president? No.
So, that was really concerning to me. Even more concerning when Catherine Herridge published a short piece on Twitter talking about strong indicators CIA was tracking DNI Gabbard team emerge months ago. And in this article, I'm not going to go through it all, but out of the subjects I just mentioned, COVID origins, MK Ultra, JFK, MLK assassinations, Havana syndrome, and even more, she was talking about how, there were former DNI officials, ODNI officials that were coming out and blowing the whistle on the fact that the CIA was blockading their investigation, blocking them from interviewing certain officials who were involved in these investigations, like COVID, for example, during the Biden administration, who still worked at the CIA. They were seizing documents. They were even tapping the phone calls of their superiors at the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. So while they were investigating these CIA documents related to MLK, RFK, so on and so forth, MK Ultra, the CIA was tapping their phone calls and then calling in the ODNI officials for, like, what do they call it here? Investigative unit, like interrogations effectively with the CIA. And they were disclosing the fact that they knew this private information that no one else knew because they were tapping their phone calls. Like, hey, why'd you ask this guy about that? How would you know that? Unless you were tapping our phone calls, unless you were doing listening devices. Excuse me. You were utilizing listening devices, so on and so forth. So that's what the CIA was doing over the past several weeks and months. And just a few days before we now have this, that Tulsi Gabbard is announcing her resignation pending the June 30th transfer period, we had this. This was reported just, 2 days ago. Amaryllis Fox Kennedy, RFK Jr.'s daughter-in-law and Tulsi Gabbard's closest ally in the intelligence community, resigned from 2 senior posts over disagreement with Trump's Iran war. Kennedy is stepping down as deputy to Gabbard at the Office of the Director of National Intelligence and as associate director of the Office of Management and Budget, where she oversaw classified intel budgets. Resignation effective this week. Now, the Office of Management and Budget, serving in that high-level position, associate director, and as the deputy to Tulsi, that is an immense amount of power that she held. RFK's daughter-in-law. That is an immense amount of power to have those 2 positions. Have 1 position would be an immense amount of power, but 2 is insane. So you start to look at this stuff, and you see the timeline that we're headed on here, right? No progress in the Iran negotiations. They're trying to, at the very least, they're trying to get us this information about MK Ultra, about JFK, about MLK assassinations. It's getting blocked left and right. Charlie Kirk, they tried to investigate that. The Office of Director of National Intelligence, the FBI blocked them on that matter. You remember Kash Patel, they got in a huge fight about it. It was reported in the New York Times. And so she steps down, Kennedy steps down, and then 2 days later, Tulsi announces her resignation. Kennedy reportedly stepped down over the Iran war, and now we're seeing Tulsi step down. And folks, a lot of you are maybe perplexed if you're new to politics. Jackson, how is it possible that you could have ever known or hung out with Tulsi Gabbard? Well, if you followed politics just a few years ago, you would know that Tulsi was like one of the only and the fiercest critics that all of Congress had toward warmongering against Iran, warmongering against Syria, warmongering against Russia, of course, right? And she vehemently opposed Trump's successful efforts at the time to leave the JCPOA, the Iran deal. She said this is going to lead to a new war, a war in Iran, a war that would be disastrous. She aggressively campaigned, especially on Fox News, to try and reverse course and stop a war with Iran in the first Trump term. This was like her big thing. She ran for president. She's very opposed to war against Iran when she was running for president. She was outspoken as a member of Congress, especially when it came to Syria and the proxy war that we were fighting in Syria. And that's why I was so drawn to her campaign and what she stood for. I was like, wow, this is a person. She was supposed to be, the next Hillary Clinton's, deputy. Hillary Clinton loved her. They named her as like what did they name her? She was like the deputy chief of the DNC or something. People were saying she's a person of color. She's a woman. She's a veteran. She checked all the boxes, right? But then she went to Syria. Then she campaigned against war on Syria. Then she said that the Department of Defense, the CIA, State Department, all these organizations, international and domestic, were lying about Duma, about Ghouta, and about these chemical attacks. I was like, wow, this is really incredible. She's literally sacrificing her whole career. So, yeah, I met her a few times on her presidential campaign. We went surfing a few times. I met her. I interviewed her at an event in San Francisco. That interview is unfortunately no longer available because YouTube banned my first account, which had that interview. And at the time, no one really used Twitter because it was just everything got censored on it. And my Instagram also got banned. But yeah, she was chill. She listened. We talked about nuclear waste issues, which is an important issue in the community I grew up in, but no one else cares about. So that's why I met her and talked to her and stuff during her campaign, because that was a very big issue in my community. But I was also drawn to her for her anti-war politics. So the reason why I'm bringing all of this up, Kennedy, Tulsi, Joe Kent, what do you think is about to happen? I think it is indicative that we are not going to get one single file from the JFK files, the RFK files, the MLK files, MK Ultra, COVID origins. We're not going to get one single piece of paper. We're not going to get even one paper where the whole thing, is blotched out, black, redacted. We're not even going to get that. And I think we're also about to get another iteration of this war on Iran. I spoke to some of our friends from Iran this morning, and I had a private phone call, not an interview or anything like that. I spoke to some friends from Iran, and I said, look, I don't know why people are getting their hopes up so much. Everything I see, the military assets being staged in the right places, the buildup of the air defenses once more, the wishy-washiness of these deals going back and forth, and the U.S. making it look like they actually care when we know they don't. They just care about another iteration of this war. I think we're about to get it. And I think that Tulsi resigning, I think that's probably the clearest indication of all that it's coming quicker than any of us may actually expect. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.